My wife confessed to cheating on me for 4 years. Because she was bored and left me for weeks, now she wants me back. For 17 years, my wife, 39 female, and I, 40 male, had been wet. Our 3 girls are 11, 13, and 15. We have been together for around 23 years and were high school sweethearts. Although I don't know much, this is the only information I know 3 days ago. My wife returned home from her job on the 4th day. She had to go to work, but first, she quickly packed an overnight bag and departed. Our oldest daughter was home when she left, so that's the only reason I know this. My wife was sobbing and upset that she was hardly able to speak when she tried to talk. To her, she was on the verge of panic. None of our calls or texts are getting a response from her. I immediately called her parents, who eventually replied that my wife is safe with them and urged me to be understanding and patient. They only said that I attempted to get in touch with her brother, sister, and a close colleague. Her brother claimed to know nothing, and her co-worker claimed that 3 days prior, she had arrived at work in the morning, but had left by midday. She only knew that there hasn't been any communication with my wife or the children, since we're not hearing anything from anyone. I'm trying to get by without her here, with my 3 daughters. All I can answer when the kids ask me what's going on, or what happened with mum, is that she's with grandma and grandpa, and that we should be understanding and patient. I can't help but want to swiftly load up the kids and head over there without warning. Sitting here in limbo is terrible, and it's just 3 hours away. The children believe we got into a heated argument and are divorcing. But that couldn't be further from the reality. We never argue. The children are aware of this. I'm not sure what's happening. But could someone please explain it logically? I'm trying to handle everything without her. But my current mental condition has me thinking in circles. Your spouse would be the first person you would notify if someone died. My wife would be the first person I would turn to for assistance if it were me. Though it's possible that some old trauma was triggered. We don't know anything, nothing makes sense. I sit here in limbo, with the girls unsure of what to do. Nobody is telling us anything, and none of us know anything. It makes me anxious, afraid, irate, etc. Almost every feeling imaginable in this circumstance. Is there anyone who can think of something reasonable? Why would you do this to your family? Update 1. I apologize, I don't know much about Reddit yet, not much to share because I'm not really sure how to do it. I don't know how to connect my previous post. I didn't sleep last night, it was a long night. I apologize for the brief update. I read every thread yesterday and end of the night. But I don't plan on using the computer much today. Today we finally read the responses. I'll just state my knowledge and stop there. I ended up calling the cops last night as my father-in-law didn't call. A wellness check was conducted. As many of you recommended, I won't go into the storm of problems that resulted from this, but my wife has been having an affair for at least 2 years, if not more. Everyone was right. The other man reportedly died that night after suffering a heart attack on Tuesday. It seems likely that my sister-in-law and my mother-in-law have been aware of it and have been filling in for her. My wife still hasn't been in touch with either the girls or me for the time being. I'm attempting to hide this from them. But to be honest, I don't know what to do next. I only know that, and it's enough to almost spell my demise. I appreciate all of your assistance and guidance, that's all, but I'm not sure how to get over this news. Please offer up prayers for me, and the 2 of us. Update to a couple people have suggested this sub to me. I recently joined, and have been reading a lot of postings whenever I have free time, usually at night when the day's turmoil is over. Naturally, the brain then takes over. And I have these depressive episodes. After that, I experience intense rage. And then both feelings at once. It's almost impossible to sleep then. Like a zombie, I go about my day. All the acronyms are something I'm attempting to learn. I suppose Friday was my D-Day. I initially believed my wife's affair to have lasted 2 years. But it now appears highly probable that it lasted longer. She had known the man she cheated on with AP for some time. The disclosure came after he sadly died of a heart attack. With the assistance of my eldest daughter, I continue to conduct research. I'm not yet ready to post about a lot of topics. I honestly didn't intend to keep posting about my predicament. But so many people have given me So much support and guidance that it's practically therapeutic, knowing that so many other individuals are going through this kind of pain is painful. I'm so sorry for that yesterday. And today, I had meetings with 2 different attorneys to go over my alternatives. I also made several calls about treatment. But where I reside, wait periods are really lengthy. I'm making an effort to follow many of the advice given by others, such as abstaining from drinking, although I don't, and never have taken care of myself, exercising, etc. For someone my age, I'd say I'm in excellent shape. But right now, I struggle to find the motivation to work out. I recognize that a lot of you will want specifics like who, what, when, and so on. But please know that I'm simply not yet ready to go into all of that. It feels like a new bomb goes off every day, and all I want is some guidance on one item, so that I might be able to get some sleep. My wife, the mother of my 3 lovely girls, and my best friend since high school, was everything to me. We shake hands in secret and share inside jokes. Everything is gone. Everything, it's simply gone. I get really depressed when I reflect back on all of our years together, including every milestone and every laugh. It is incapacitating. It seems like she didn't care about any of it. And now she won't be in my future. Naturally, the how could you question then surfaces, and I am seized with an insatiable rage. I pound the mattress and scream into my pillow till my arms hurt. The cycle is terrible. I only go to sleep because I'm so tired, and when I wake up, the mind games start over my girls who have been attempting to care for me, as if they were my parents, receive all of my energy. They aren't treated fairly after learning about the affair. How did you all sleep with just your thoughts? How did you cope with the emptiness and silence at night, aside from my daughters? I've determined that sleep must be my top priority in all of this. I'm hoping you can help though, because I simply can't. Many thanks to all of you. Update 3. I apologize for my relative inexperience on Reddit. A little more than a week has passed since my DA day, however. I'm not sure how much of my circumstances I should reiterate or repeat. I've since discovered that my wife's affair lasted for more than 4 years, no precise time frame. Yet it most likely began emotionally before becoming bodily. I'm also interested in how the epidemic and lockdowns affected this. I might or might not find out the answers in any case. My in-laws unexpectedly came to visit their grandchildren yesterday. Since the start of this ordeal, DU has been staying in their house, which is utterly ridiculous. Naturally, they greeted the girls for a total of 15 minutes. I have 3 girls with my wife. They then requested a private conversation with me, as you can anticipate. The chat was lengthy. I don't want to go into detail about it in this piece. In any case, my wife wants to return home, but is scared of the consequences of her behavior and is unable to confront her past. Her parents also conducted extensive research to find out if I intended to file for divorce. They put a lot of effort into persuading me to forgive my wife and keep the marriage together. They wanted my wife out of their home, but it was also obvious that they were extremely humiliated and ashamed. The conversation was quite polite and courteous. I acknowledged that I misled them by claiming that I was unsure of my future intentions, since I intend to get a divorce. However, I fear that if I tell my wife, I will never get the truth, and I might never understand. However, if at all feasible, I would like her to sit in front of me and explain everything. I want her to look me in the eyes and tell me everything after we've been married for 17 years. Been together since high school, had 3 children, made innumerable memories, and experienced everything together. Additionally, I want my children to understand that I offered her the chance to apologize, explain herself, and resolve the pagination. As responsible adults, I'm constantly trying to decide which course will be best for my children. I'm not sure, perhaps I'm not doing it correctly. I can't legally bar my wife from our house. The attorney was extremely explicit about that. Therefore, even if I really don't want this right now, I can't stop my wife from coming home. In fact, my girls and I have begun to establish a pleasant routine. I therefore made a demand that in my opinion would be impossible to fulfill for some time. If when my wife sat down with me face to face, looked me in the eyes and told me everything about her affair from beginning to end, Without hesitation or more lying, I told her she may come home. She would next need to meet with the girls, provide an apology face to face, and respond to their inquiries. It's only fair, I reasoned. Since they already know once more, she is legally free to return home any time she pleases and is not subject to any obligations. However, I might be able to take advantage of her fear of us. Is that incorrect here? I'm not attempting to be cunning or dishonest. I simply don't want to live together just yet. I can postpone it. Our state has a 90-day waiting period before a divorce may occur. In any case, she will inevitably return home. Life will continue despite this disaster, and ultimately we will both need to return to our jobs. I simply wish to extend it in order to plan and improve my emotional and mental well-being. My wife says she doesn't want to divorce course, but she has been texting the females. She apologizes to them over and over again. The texts have been shown to me. She inquires about me every day, and the truth about what she has done to us is really getting to her, especially in the past few days. How can I handle this? Was my request stupid? My wife is probably going to return home sooner rather than later. Right now, I have faith in my future. This doesn't scare me, because I know it will happen eventually as we proceed. I simply want to choose what's best for my girls and subsequently for myself. I am grateful to everyone who has been providing support, guidance, and encouragement. Update 4. I apologize for the length, but I just need to get this out of the way. It will be a bit of an anticlimax. Despite the awful weekend, my wife returned home yesterday. As the week progressed, there was a fair lot of build-up to it. Normally, when she walked through the doorway, I would embrace and kiss her. But this time, there was just this incredibly awkward tension between us. Before she spoke, she really approached me and attempted to embrace me, but I turned her away. Unbelievable. As though nothing had occurred. Naturally, I begged her to tell me everything. After she calmed down, she stated once more that she is not yet ready. The outcome was the same. When we chatted on the phone earlier this week, she simply reiterated that she wasn't prepared for that. When I maintained that the only requirement for her to return home was that she loved the family enough to justify her absence of over 3 weeks, I took a few long breaths and tried to gather myself. Even though it took a lot to keep from screaming at her, I didn't succeed. I abruptly stated after the first of many lengthy pauses that she had been having an affair with a coworker for more than 4 years, that she had planned to leave me for another man, that she had ghosted her entire family, and that she now enters the room without meeting the one requirement I had requested, and that I wanted a divorce. I suppose this is where the strangeness began. It was clear from her facial expression and body language that she was unaware of my level of knowledge regarding her affair. She gave me an eyed look before simply standing in the kitchen and gazing at the floor. She remained silent and stern. This is not what I was anticipating at all. Perhaps an emotional outburst, a tearful confession, or even her cursing and screaming at me, accusing me of having the affair. Not this response, but rather a somber, "Okay, Letton, sit down and talk this out." To be honest, we must have stood in complete quiet for 5 minutes in the kitchen. It was simply the most peculiar thing I had ever encountered. Both she and I were obviously at a loss for words. I had read all of your remarks and suggestions regarding my predicament. I even made notes. I had prepared myself for every eventuality this conversation could bring, with the exception of this one. While I sat in front of a mirror, I ultimately made the decision to document what I knew about her affair at that precise moment. I may have been foolish, but I told her what I knew, albeit with some assumptions about how she met AP, her sister's participation, what transpired during COVID, etc. All she could do was look at the floor. She didn't say anything. So I became more and more irate. But I did everything in my power to avoid becoming profane or raising my voice. At last I calmed down. Another long, uneasy pause followed. Sadness replaced anger when everything became clear. Then, I gently questioned her about what I had done to make her leave. Was I ever loved by her? Was he a P worth it too? She remained silent, didn't move, remained motionless. Nothing at all from her. No sobs, no regrets, no shouting, no justification. She simply stood with her head down. Nothing. This was painful. Perhaps this was more painful than deed. Not sure whether I would have moved. I just stood there looking at her. Then of course, things got worse. The whole interaction was being overheard by our girls. I'm just so damn foolish. Over the past few weeks, I've been putting a lot of effort into attending to their needs and putting them first, but after I confronted my wife, I became emotional and stopped caring about where they were. Our oldest daughter, who had a lot of pent-up rage, stormed downstairs and screamed. My wife hurried to the bedroom and locked the door. We are currently at that point. Before I went to sleep last night, I could hear my wife sobbing for the majority of the night. Only our youngest has attempted to communicate with her. The others have stayed away from her. I'm going to propose that she remain with her sister until we can complete the divorce. If I can muster the confidence to do so, however. She still calls this place home. If we all have to live with her, it will only be a sad situation. You were all right about my wife, and I was incorrect. I was mistaken about every year we spent together, every memory, and every moment that changed our lives. I thought she would fall to her knees and ask for forgiveness. I really believe that she would confess the truth and repent for everything that had happened over the previous 4 years, thus clearing her of any blame. We are not worth it to this woman, who once drove back to a farmer market after realizing she had been handed $10 more in change than she was supposed to. She doesn't value me. Perhaps I never was. What comes next? It was really unpleasant at home today. The daughters and I made an effort to continue as we had for the previous 2 weeks, but it is obviously not feasible. All I want to do is move on from this whole situation, from the divorce, to the uncomfortable conversations, to the anticipated battles, arguments, and drama. How did you handle having to live with your WS, especially if you have children? I am aware that this is only the start. I keep reading blogs that say things will get better, but I'm away from that right now. I can't stop wanting to yell at every opportunity. Naturally, I'm making every effort to keep the girls' minds calm, but I'm not sure whether I can sustain it for 3 months before all of this is finished. School will begin. This is my life. Now I suppose I appreciate everyone's strong interest in me. I'm not sure if the worst is over or not, but I would appreciate any help you can give me to get through this next stage. Update 5. Since my WW returned home and I found out about her affair, I've been in a horrible mood for my daughters. I've been doing my best to pretend. I make an effort to think and speak appropriately, but tonight, I must face the reality. It comes in waves, as many of you post every day. But tonight, I was struck by a very large one and became somewhat agitated. My WDW has yet to get a lawyer, despite the divorce being filed, and once more I'm attempting to be as gentle and patient as I can in this situation, because I'm beginning to see the possibility of an uncontested divorce that we primarily manage ourselves, but I'm not sure. After tonight, we've been living together throughout the week, and because W works so near to our family home, she spends Friday evenings at her sister's and Sunday nights at home. However, if there is no traffic, her sister is an hour away. It's been a habit of basically avoidance over the past few weeks, with WW essentially keeping to herself and the girls and I trying to go about our daily lives regularly. Even though we have informal conversations every evening, my oldest daughter and my W have stopped talking after a few heated arguments. Right now, it's for the best. I've been following a lot of your advice lately. In addition to what I've read, I put a lot of effort into maintaining my self-control around my wife, and even though it requires all of my strength and willpower, I've been brief and uninterested in our small conversations, although always being courteous and respectful. The past 2 Fridays up until now, she has arrived home from work, gathered a few things, and left for her sister's for the weekend. Before I have even returned from work, not tonight though. When I got home, she was waiting for me in the kitchen. I attempted to ignore her tonight, but she gently took my hand and asked if I was going to treat her this way, because she wasn't ready to discuss her affair with me. By the way, since everything went viral about a month ago, this is the first time she has ever spoken about her infidelity. I made an effort, I swear to you. I tried to just walk away and bite my tongue, but I became angry because our daughters weren't home at the time. I then released all of my vices, hurts, aches, anger and miseries. I let her handle everything. I went on for so long, I can't even remember. I completely forgot what time was. I did become a little animated and loud at times, and I did raise my voice. I simply broke down and told her how devastated I am, how much pain I endure every day and everything that has been haunting me, and that I have been holding back. I mean, if I tried to summarize what I said, this piece would be 4,000 words long. I had no intention of stopping once I got rolling naturally. I broke down and became tearful once more. After this, I was furious IOUs with myself. Damn it, I've been doing great. She reached me. I allowed her to affect me. I was aware that it would occur. I was aware horrible. I can only express so much in the waiting room, and it has been building for a while. Additionally, we genuinely broke down and became emotional for the first time. She started crying furiously, which surprised me. Unfortunately, seeing that she was experiencing the same pain as I was, made me pleased. I wish I didn't care. But it felt good to watch her finally cry, since it showed that there was someone with some empathy inside of her. Surprisingly, she apologized several times. As I was exploding, she would only mutter, "I'm so sorry," while sobbing in an awful way. Eventually though, I left the kitchen before she could gather herself enough to say anything more. I begged her to stop bothering me. That's what occurred. She spent some time in the kitchen. Before heading back to her sister's house after a half hour, the girls realized something had happened when they got home. Although it's difficult to conceal, I wasn't prepared to discuss anything. And don't believe they should be aware of this, do they? I don't want to stop the two youngest from making development, because they have been doing a lot better. I also don't want to add fuel to my oldest fury by telling her about this. I detest this so much. I detest it. I ought to have remained composed. I should have simply ignored my W and walked straight by her right now. I'm not sure. Looking back, it seems like she was merely attempting to bring up her affair, but was unsure of how to do so. Obviously she didn't go very far because I blew out. I am now genuinely concerned for her. I don't want her to suffer any harm, but I am aware that many of you will be critical of me for this, with almost everyone ignoring her. She has been alone with her thoughts, and secluded. Although it's true that she deserves it, she is still a person, and the mother of my children. What a blow to me. I'm really disappointed in myself. I apologize for the lengthy T-Rod. I also yelled at my brother over the phone. I'll try to start over on Monday. Man, I'm only a human. I must admit that it felt wonderful to vent to her. But now, I'm feeling regret. Is it better to text my wife, or to ignore her? I'm a complete wreck. However, I appreciate you listening, providing me with the help I need to get through this, and giving me all of your suggestions. We have all begun treatment, so that's something in the middle of the turmoil. But this is really difficult, just really difficult. Update 6. Thank you for your concern. I am aware that many of you have contacted me. The majority of you were right. Things aren't going well. And I haven't had any opportunity to access the internet. I was hoping to take a vacation from the internet. But I've been regressing a lot this week. It has simply been terrible. My wife has been really kind and has been apologizing for her affair, crying, smothering me, and knocking on my door at night to talk. She hasn't really left me alone this week. I've spoken to her when I felt like it, but I've also mostly ignored her on Wednesday night. I finally lost my temper with her and told her to stop bothering me. Then it occurred last night, after her affair blew up. My soon-to-be ex-wife returned home. A little more than a month ago now, that we've started this awkward cohabitation routine. She came into my room after the daughters had gone to bed and begged to speak with me alone. In contrast to how she had been approaching me all week, I fed her first. But in order to avoid making the same mistake twice in front of the kids, we finally went to the garage and sat in my car. I apologized for the lengthy apology. She filled me in on everything. We spent about 3 hours out there, she said. I'm not sure how much to divulge. I couldn't sleep, so I stayed up all night listening to her cry again. I also shed tears. I would then become so enraged that I would have to force myself not to walk in and yell at her, then sob, then rage, and so forth. I apologize if I don't reply to anyone for a day or so, but I need to get this off my chest before I try to sleep. Having my WW apologize and ask for another chance all the time hasn't helped. I had to leave for a few hours tonight as well in order to avoid her. Simply put, being around her hurt so much. In any case, her sister introduced her to her AP, approximately 5 years prior to COVID. Seemingly with no romantic ambitions, however, he was a higher up at the company she presently works for, and wanted to work for. She was able to convince him that her affair was not the reason behind her wish to change careers. However, it goes without saying that she had more motivation. After changing employment, the AP started flirting with her once she was hired, texting at first followed by images, and then more texting. Then right before co-struck, things got physical. She wanted to tell me right away after confessing to her sister, but she chose to keep it to herself. Naturally, my wife claimed that she went NC with her AP shortly after, but he contacted her again as soon as the limitations and lockdowns were relaxed, and she continued to speak with him until the physical aspect of the affair resurfaced. She claimed to have halted the affair a few times out of remorse once businesses resumed operations, but she continued returning to him, thus it never ended. In essence, she provided a great deal of information. She recited the full 5-page packet of handwritten notes detailing her affair history, responding to questions as she went. She made false claims about weekend getaways with the girls, work-related travel, traffic bottlenecks, problems with her parents' shopping excursions, etc. The list was long as I had expected. She told me so many falsehoods that I simply believed everything she said without question. They were merely a front to be with him. Though it only made me feel worse to hear it all. Everyone was right. Her love, however, never truly wavered. She never became aloof during all of this. Unlike what I frequently read, although intimacy did shift, it wasn't enough for me to raise concerns. In any case, she acknowledges that she fell in love with and desired a life with him. He promised her luxury items, trips, and everything he could do for her. He was older, divorced, and unmarried. She claimed that the excitement of being with him was too great to resist, and began to fantasize about fleeing her duties with the family. She remarked about how the everyday routines of family life bored her. She appeared to be honest, quite emotional, and extremely open. Halfway through, I started crying and lost my temper. As you can think, hearing it all hurt naturally. Once she finished her confession, she told me how much she loved me and always would, and that she would stop at nothing to try to keep the marriage intact. Many of you anticipated this, yet it all seemed so phony to me, as if it had been pretty. Having spent more than half of my life with this woman, I can detect when she is acting shady. I think it doesn't matter if I'm mistaken, but I was more composed than I was the week before. Nevertheless, I became irate and said a few hurtful things, such as making fun of her AP for having several girlfriends, of whom she was only one that he was prepared to discard. She appeared pretty offended about that. When I think about this moment, when she would finally reveal all the onliners I might say to her, or things I could say to hurt her back, a million thoughts crossed my mind. I couldn't think of hundreds of answers during the emotional moment the other night, but I knew I would ask if AP was still alive, and she had to choose between me and him. Who would she pick? She hesitated and then whispered, "That's not fair." I pressed the subject, and then she eventually stated she'd of course select me. In reaction, I said that she was lying again, which was why I was divorcing her. The last thing she said was that she began to cry. We spent some time in the automobile. She continued to cry, but I was exhausted. So I simply informed her that we were divorcing, and that we owed it to the kids to be there in their lives, to be good parents, and to get along amicably. In addition, I said that I hoped she was a decent enough person to end our divorce amicably and fairly after all the suffering she had caused me. That would demonstrate her true affection for me. Please realize that I'm not a petty person, and that I didn't intentionally mean to hurt her. When I told her that I had stolen anything from another website, it just seemed like the right way to wrap things up. However, I truly meant what I said and did after telling her that I would have loved her forever, and leaning over to kiss her on the forehead. I got out of the car and went to bed. That was it, naturally. I didn't get much sleep the night before, and now I'm having trouble falling asleep tonight. I have no idea what will happen next. One positive, I suppose, is that she no longer has the chance to challenge the divorce. However, I have yet to speak with my attorney. I'm crying once more and reverting to my angry and depressed states. Hearing everything last night was really difficult, even though I could have avoided it all. She may have lied and made it up to now, That I know who knows, however, it appeared to go well with everything I had assembled during the previous month for the time being. That's it. It seems like this never ends. I feel strong again after a few good days. And then something else happens. Even though it's only been days, it feels like months have passed. However, I will attempt to get some rest. Imagine that the one lady you have ever loved and kissed, the love of your life, informs you that she cheated on you for more than 4 years because she was bored, had no relationship problems. No dead bedroom, no falling out of love, no growing apart, nothing of the sort. Merely due to her boredom. I'm not sure if that makes it better or worse. Thank you for reading and for your assistance. It was a rough couple of nights. Horrible. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to my channel for more story like this.